Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome in the class. Today we will discuss structural realism. And as you know, our discussion is based on a chapter which is written by Jack Donnelly. The title of the chapter is Realism. And the title of the book is Theories of International Relations. It is its sixth edition. And its editors are Richard Devtak and Jackie True. Waltzian structuralism. In the last session, we discussed Hobbesian state of nature, Hobbes' state of nature, and it talks about the nature of the man and nature of the society and the international anarchy. Waltzian structural realism, it is focused only on international anarchy. It does not consider the nature of the man, human nature. Structural realists take a different approach from classical realists. So, classical realism focuses on egoism, human nature, that humans are selfish and greedy and competitive and quarrelsome. So that is why the foreign policies of the states are conflictual. So that is classical realism. The structural realism is it is also called new realism. So it focuses on international anarchy. Structural realists take a different approach from classical realists. Classical realists explain politics by looking at human nature. Structural realists do not focus on human nature. Instead, they make a few simple assumptions about states. One main assumption is this: states care most about survival and security. States care most about survival and security. These concerns come before almost everything else. So, in structural realism, survival and security are the foremost considerations of the states. This idea shifts our attention to the international system. In the international system, there is anarchy. There is no world authority, there is no government above the states. It means anarchy. Anarchy means there is no international government. Because of this anarchy, states are forced to behave in certain ways. This happens even if states have different interests. So, due to anarchy, foreign policy of the states is influenced in a certain way. Foreign policy of the states is shaped in a certain way. So, this happens even if states have different interests. It also happens even if states have different internal systems. The result is that states often behave in similar patterns. So, whether the states are authoritarian or they are democratic, whether the states are advanced or they are developing or underdeveloped, international anarchy influences, it affects the foreign policy of all states in a way. The result is that states often behave in similar patterns. Kenneth Waltz. Kenneth Waltz is a famous theorist of international relations. He wrote a famous book. Its title is Theory of International Politics. The book was published in 1979. This book became very influential in academic international relations, IER. It dominated the field well into the 1990s. Even today, It remains one of the most influential works in the discipline. Waltz built his theory at the level of the international system. He did not focus on the specific characteristics of individual states. He also did not focus on the personalities of individual leaders. Instead, he abstracted away from these details. So, classical realism focuses on the internal makeup of the states, internal systems, internal leaders. So, that is classical realism. Kenneth Walt's realism, it is new realism. It focuses on international system. It focuses on the international anarchy. He abstracted away from these details. Kenneth Waltz's goal was to explain a few big and important things about international relations. He also wanted to explain something else. Kenneth Waltz also wanted to explain something else. He noticed a striking similarity in international life across thousands of years. He studied history of the states, history of international relations spread over thousands of years, and he noticed a striking similarity. He wanted to explain why international politics looks so similar over long periods of history. According to Waltz, this similarity can be explained by the structure of international systems. So, Kenneth Waltz explains this similarity in international relations can be explained, it can be understood by the structure of international systems. Now, what is structure of international systems? What is the structure of international relations? It is basically the interactions of the international actors uh, is called international structure, structure of international system or structure of international relations. So the way the international actors deal with each other, they treat each other, it is called the structure of international system. So the major international actors are states, but there are other international actors as well. Apart from states, multinational corporations, for example, they are international actors. If similarly, international organizations, they are also international actors. There are also non-state actors. Multinational corporations are also non-state actors. Similarly, international terrorist organizations, they are also international non-state actors. So, interactions between non state actors are called the structure of international system and the structure of international relations. Waltz argues that political structures have three main elements. Political structures have three main elements. These elements are number one, ordering principle. There is an order. If there is an order or not, first. So it is the first element of a political structure. Functional differentiation, whether functions are differentiated or not in a political structure. Then distribution of capabilities. Distribution of capabilities. Capabilities are distributed in political structures. Number one, ordering principle. The ordering principle explains how authority is arranged in a system. How authority is arranged in a system. It is called ordering principle of a political system. It shows who has authority over whom. Who has authority over whom. Waltz says political actors can have two types of relationships. Political actors can have two types of relationships. One possibility is superior and subordinate relations, superior and subordinate, boss and subordinate. This means some actors are above others in authority. So, if this is the way there is the authority, there is an authority, it is called hierarchy. The other possibility is no such hierarchy, then it is anarchy. So, these are the two basic principles of political structures. In this case, actors are formally equal. If there is anarchy, then actors are formally equal. If you remember, in the last class, we discussed Hobbesian state of nature, and Thomas Hobbes said that in the state of nature, men are equal, that the weakest can kill the strongest. So, in anarchy, actors are formally equal. According to Kenneth Waltz, national political systems are hierarchical. National political systems are hierarchical. They have a hierarchy. There is an ordering. Some have authority over others. This means there is a clear chain of authority inside states. But international political systems are anarchic. This means there is no central authority above states. Number two, functional differentiation. Political structures are also defined by how functions are distributed. This refers to the division of political labor. For example, in Pakistan, the government has three pillars of state. Number one, the legislature. What is its basic function? Its basic function is legislation, to make laws. Number two, executive. What is its basic function? Its basic function is to implement the laws made by the legislature. The third pillar is the judiciary. What is its basic function? The basic function of the judiciary is to resolve the conflicts which arise among the people and the state, or among the people, or among the different departments of the government. So, this is called functional differentiation. Functional differentiation. In hierarchical systems, roles are clearly divided. So, different departments, different parts of the government, their roles are clearly defined in the constitution. Their functions are clearly mentioned. A person's position in the hierarchy determines their role or function. So, a person's position in the hierarchy, for example, the minister, it has its own position. He or she has a position, and this position determines their role. This position determines their function. That under the minister, there is a secretary. So this is the position of the secretary determines his or her role and function. Similarly, under the secretary, there are additional secretaries, then joint secretaries, then deputy secretaries, then section officers, then clerks. So positions of all these people determine their role, determine their functions. So, a person's position in the hierarchy determines their role or function. In such systems, different actors perform different tasks. This situation is called functional differentiation. Functional differentiation requires actors to depend on one another. So they depend on one another. The boss depends on the subordinates to accomplish the tasks, and the subordinates, they depend on the boss for direction and support. So, functional differentiation requires actors to depend on one another. So, they are all actors. Prime Minister is an actor, the ministers are actors, the secretaries and their subordinates, the additional secretaries, the section officers, the PNs, they are all actors. Anyone who acts on something is an actor. So, functional differentiation requires actors to depend on one another. So, there are different actors in uh, all political systems. Each actor performs a specific assigned task. So, all actors in political systems, they have their assigned tasks. But Kenneth Waltz argues that this kind of dependence is dangerous in anarchy. It is dependence. So, in hierarchy, this dependence is not dangerous because there is a government, there is a judiciary, there is a police, there is a justice system. So, the law protects all the actors, and the law enforcement agencies they protect all the actors. But in anarchy, when there is no government, this dependence is dangerous. If people depend on one another, they can be harmed, they can be enslaved. कोई उनको मसलन अगर कोई हुकूमत नहीं है, कोई कानून नहीं है और एक कमज़ोर बंदा जो है वो किसी पे या एक कोई भी शख्स किसी दूसरे पे अगर डिपेंडेंट हो जाएगा, तो वो तो उसको गुलाम बना ले या उसको मार डाले या उसकी चीज़ें छीन ले, ठीक है ना? तो जो एनार्की है, उसमें डिपेंडेंस खतरनाक है। Kenneth Waltz argues that this kind of dependence is dangerous in anarchy. In an anarchic system, no authority guarantees protection. क्योंकि कोई पुलिस नहीं है, कोई अदालत नहीं है, तो अगर वो उसके साथ ज्यादती कर लेगा एक बंदा दूसरे के साथ, तो वो कहाँ जाएगा? कहीं भी नहीं जा सकता, तो वो तो मारा गया। So, because of this, states cannot safely depend on others. So, in the international system, there's anarchy, there's no authority above the states. So, states cannot safely depend on others for their survival, for their security. Therefore, each state must take care of itself. So, every state has to defend itself on its own. It cannot depend on others. Each state must make sure it can survive on its own. A state cannot assume others will protect it. A state cannot expect other states that they will come to protect it. Waltz therefore explains a key difference. National politics contains different types of units performing different functions. Waltz therefore explains a key difference. National politics contains different types of units performing different functions. It is national politics. But international politics is different. In international politics, states are similar units. In national politics, the actors are different. Their roles and functions are different. In international politics, states are the actors and main actors, and they have similar functions. For example, all states have governments. All states have to provide security to their citizens. All states have to defend themselves. So their functions are similar to each other. In international politics, states are similar units. They copy each other's activities. They perform similar functions. The third is the distribution of capabilities. The third element of political structure is the distribution of capabilities. This refers to how power is distributed among actors in the system. how power is distributed among actors in the system. In the international politics, prime minister has separate powers, president has separate powers, ministers, secretaries, bureaucrats, they have separate powers, judges have separate powers, parliament has separate powers. So, power is distributed among actors in a political system. All international systems are anarchic by definition. Also, anarchic systems have very little functional differentiation. Because of this, the main structural difference between international systems is how power is distributed. In modern international relations studies, power distribution is usually measured by polarity. Polarity, poles in football ground, there are poles in hockey ground, there are poles. So the poles are the most important point in the ground. All the players, they defend their own pole and they attack the other pole. And all the people who are watching the match, they are also focusing on both poles. Okay, whether the goal is being scored or not, how many goals have been scored, how many goals are more needed. So all the people focus on the poles. Poles are the most important points in the football ground. So if we take the world as a playground, so the superpowers, they attract the most of the attention of the people in the world. So the superpowers are called the poles. If there is one superpower in the international system, then it is a unipolar world. Unipolarity. It is called unipolarity. And if there are two superpowers in the international system, it is called a bipolar world, bipolar system, and it is called bipolarity. And if there are more than two superpowers in the world, in the international system, then this international system is called multipolar, and it is called multipolarity. During the Cold War, as you know, there were two superpowers, the United States of America and the USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. So it was a bipolar international system. Then, after the Cold War, it transformed into a unipolar international system. So, today, most people agree that today's international system is, current international system is a unipolar system. And this phenomenon is called polarity. In modern international relations studies, power distribution is usually measured by polarity. Polarity means the number of great powers in the system. Effects of polarity. Polarity affects the character of the international system. For example, consider a bipolar system. In a bipolar system, two superpowers dominate the system. Direct conflict between these superpowers often moves to other regions. These regions are called the periphery. As you know, during the Cold War, the United States of America and the Soviet Union, they fought wars in Vietnam. They fought a war in Korea and in other parts of the world. So Vietnam and Korea can be considered as the periphery. However, structural realists say that most analytical work is done by the concept of anarchy. Polarity is also important while explaining the international system, international politics, but anarchy is more important while analyzing international relations. Anarchy shapes many important patterns in international politics. Realists often emphasize the negative effects of anarchy. They talk about dangers. Realists talk about hazards, perils, violent consequences of anarchy. A note on Waltz's definition of anarchy. Kenneth Waltz defines anarchy in two related ways. First, anarchy means the absence of government. Second, anarchy means the absence of hierarchy. By definition, international political systems do not have an international government. However, many international systems still show some hierarchy. For example, consider systems dominated by great powers. In these systems, states have formal authority over non state actors. Non state actors include United Nations, IMF, World Bank, WTO. So these are non state actors, and states have formal authority over non state actors, over these non state actors. Also, great powers usually have more influence than smaller powers. Great powers may be roughly equal to each other, but the system still has hierarchical features. Though it is not a clear cut hierarchy, the national system is not a clear cut hierarchy, but it still has some features of hierarchy because superpowers are more influential, they are more powerful, major powers. Authority is mainly concentrated in states. Capabilities are mainly concentrated in great powers. Because of this, it may be better to understand structural realism in a slightly different way. It can be read as a theory about the effects of having no international government. Now, patterns of international politics. Kenneth Waltz begins with a very simple model. The model includes three conditions. Number one, states are self interested. Number two, states fear for their survival. Number three, states interact without an international government. States fear for their survival. States interact without an international government. From these conditions, certain patterns of politics appear. These patterns develop without anyone planning them, but they are very hard to avoid. One important pattern is the balance of power. Balance of power. States often try to balance against powerful rivals. Another important pattern is concern for relative power. Relative power, relative gains. States worry not only about their own power, they also worry about how their power compares with others. These conclusions are not limited to structural realism. Many other realists also agree with these conclusions. So this was the Waltzian structuralism realism that we discussed today. Now I close this YouTube and I join you on the Google Meet in few seconds.